Hello everyone, I hope everyone is having a good time during our Module 1 assignments. My name is Jacqueline Martinez, and my big problem is focused on the inequality of school fundings. A lot of the time we see in movies the scenarios of kids not getting the same opportunities as kids that go to well-funded schools, and when those schools are in neighborhoods with good tax incoming. And I think the storyline behind those movies, sometimes we think that those storylines are cool, or oh, like that leads to this, which then leads to this. But the reality is that it's something that is actually happening in our real world, which people are actually struggling with. We see the way that there are students and families that are not able to leave the poverty cycle becoming a reoccurring cycle. Putting it into perspective through the Bronfenbrenner theory, we see how it is a problem that is lined with so many perspectives and different systematic attachments that all connect, that all affect each other at the end of the day. The first one would be in macro system. Schools with inadequate funding have outdated books, larger classroom sizes, less extracurricular activities, and limited access to technology. This is when the results in the children are not being met, which then lead to not having the same opportunities. They receive less attention because of how big school sizes are. The mesosystem. With mesosystem being a connection of microsystem, the way that their relationships in school and with their family at home are affected is in the way that when there's a higher income and a better education background at home, there are more support from the parents. And this allows for more tutoring and more help, which on the other hand, when schools are not well funded and there isn't as much support at home because of having to worry about other stuff other than this, is when kids and students kind of start to fall behind. The exosystem. Governmental policies are what affect this big problem, in the way that school fundings are connected to local taxes, and depending on where the schools are located, depend on the tax funding that go into school. So when there is poor school funding, it is harder to find teachers that are willing to work at that school that have good educational backgrounds. And the macro system, this plays a role in the way that this system represents the cultural values and economic conditions. There are higher expectations being brought on a school that are wealthier because of the money that is put into them, but when it comes to less wealthy schools, they are looked down upon as low performance schools, so not much is expected from them, which then leads to not much being expected from those children. Instead of this being how it is looked at, it should be that there is more help going into it so the schools wouldn't suffer from this as much. The next one is the Chronos system. The children's development over time in the school that is underfunded takes away the potential of the future of these students. There's a very big gap with technology because of the way that there is the well-funded schools getting to know how to use all of these resources, but then there's the underfunded schools that fall behind and don't necessarily get these opportunities, which then in the future aren't able to say that they know how to manage these schools because they never got the opportunity to be able to. Learning of all of this is sad, and it leads to a bigger problem in children's futures that are looked at now, because it isn't a big problem now. It isn't something that they face till later on because of it not being something that they face till later on. When they're adults, it's something that isn't looked at with much importance anymore. I invite you guys to share if you guys have been able to see these problems in others or even in your own life. I think that it is a challenge. I think that it is a challenging thing to be able to break, but what do you guys think on the topic? Thank you guys for listening, and I hope you guys were able to learn something from my big problem, and that you leave your thoughts and concerns over my big problem.